Okay, we can look at some more ways that we do glacier erosion processes over here. Some of the features that we see on the lands on glacial landscapes. Okay, so as the glacier moves, in this case it's moving right to left. So as it does so, it picks up rocks, moves this along. It'll pluck rocks from the bedrock, and as it does so, it continues to abrade the ground there, and then it carries all that down. And then when it retreats, it leaves all this, and that's our terminal moraine. So here's I believe this is New Zealand, but you can see the glacier has gone, but it's carved out these U-shaped valleys here. Here's your glacier tarn up here, the glacial lake. And as it retreated, the valleys filled up with seawater, and we get these very deep fjords, another type of landform. So here's two types, the glacier tarn, these lakes, as the glacier, and you can kind of see the water runs down there into the ocean. Okay, now, just like rivers do, when glaciers move, they transport and eventually they're going to deposit material, these glacial deposits, and we call this till, the sediments of varying size that the moving and melting ice deposit. Now, unlike rivers where the heavier fallout earlier than the lighter material, in glaciers it's usually not. It's what we call unstratified. There's no order to the deposition in the till. On the outwash, if it goes down further, if the glacier goes down further onto the the valley floor, for example, or the flat landscape, when the glacier meltwater spreads out, it will deposit the heaviest rocks first, followed by lighter rocks. Now, we call these moraines. That's the deposited glacial sediment composed of unsorted till. And you can have lateral ones that form along the sides, medials that are where two glaciers join, and then the terminal one, which marks the glacier's furthest extent. So you can, kind of see these here. So here's this unsorted till, if you will. In this case, it's a lateral one. And then you can see another one kind of over here where the glaciers meet. And then this is a terminal one. So the glacier originally came down, and this was its furthest extent, and it deposited all this material here. That's the terminal moraine. And then as it retreats back up, it will leave unsorted material on the ground. But this is the till, this is the terminal moraine, the depositional feature. And again, you can see more deposit here. So in this case, the glacier melted, and the meltwater carried material, much like a river, down valley and deposited. It's the heavier material up here, and then the lighter material down there. Here's your lateral moraine, where two glaciers join together. So you get this terminus, this moraine formed of till where the two glaciers meet. Here's another lateral moraine here. Here's your tributary glacier. Here's the terminal moraine of the tributary glacier. And eventually it becomes part of the main glacier and becomes what we call the medial moraine, where it separates this one and this one, but it's moving. The lateral materials just stay up here. Okay, now, as the glacier moves down, it's going to deposit certain materials, and these create unique landforms that are part of the glacial landform. And one of these is what we call eskers, these narrow ridges of coarse sand and gravel that form along the channel of a meltwater stream. Then we have kettles, which are these isolated blocks of ice across the outwash plain, and eventually that ice again, it's heavier, so it sinks into the ground. But when it melts, it'll leave a depression, and that depression will eventually fill up with water. And cames, which are these small hills of poorly sorted sand and gravel that are deposited by the water or the ice. But most common, we see these drumlins, these deposited tills streamlined in the direction of continental ice movement. So again, this is in your book, so pay close attention to this. But here's your drumlins right here. And this is up in upstate New York. But you can see them here, much like sand dunes that we talked about last chapter. Okay, but you can see the kind of the horns, if you will, of the material there. So this is in your book, so make sure you pay close attention to this. So here's the glacier retreating. Here's the terminal moraine here. Here's the meltwater that flows down. And so you get, here's the terminal moraine right there. So you get the cames, you get your kettle lakes. Here's till right here, for example. And you can, the recessional moraine, you can, the eskers, this is all part of, and your drumlin field over here, all part of the glacial landscape. Okay, so we'll stop there and then do periglacials on the next part.